when Marcus Aurelius wrote the words, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He was not reflecting on abstract philosophy. He was governing an empire under sustained crisis. Marcus Aurelius became Roman emperor in 161 AD, ruling jointly with Lucius Verus. The empire he inherited had experienced decades of relative stability under Antoninus Pius. But that stability would not last. Almost immediately after his accession, Rome faced renewed conflict in the east. The Parthian Empire invaded Roman territories in Armenia and Syria. Lucius Verus was sent to command the eastern campaign, while Marcus remained in Rome to manage civil administration. The Roman forces eventually pushed back the Parthians and captured the capital at Ctesiphon. The war ended in Roman victory. But the returning legions carried something far more destructive than any enemy army. Around 165 AD, a deadly epidemic began spreading throughout the empire. Ancient physician Galen documented its symptoms: fever, diarrhea, inflammation, and pustular eruptions. Modern historians identify it as likely smallpox. What became known as the Antonine Plague would persist for over a decade. It killed soldiers, civilians, laborers, administrators. It disrupted agriculture. It reduced tax revenue. It weakened the legions. Entire towns were depopulated. At the height of the epidemic, sources claimed thousands were dying daily in Rome alone. The empire was strained demographically, economically, and militarily, and as disease hollowed out the interior, pressure mounted on the frontiers. Along the Danube River, Germanic tribes, including the Marcomanni, Quadi, and others, began crossing into Roman territory. Around 166 AD, coordinated incursions erupted across the northern provinces. This conflict, later called the Marcomannic Wars, would dominate the remainder of Marcus Aurelius's reign. Unlike many emperors who governed from Rome, Marcus relocated to the frontier. He spent years in military camps along the Danube. He personally oversaw troop movements. He reorganized depleted units. He recruited new soldiers from unconventional sources, including gladiators and slaves, to compensate for losses caused by plague. Campaigning in harsh winter conditions, Roman forces struggled against tribal coalitions that were adapting and reorganizing. The wars were not a single battle, but a prolonged series of engagements, counterattacks, and defensive maneuvers stretching across more than a decade. In 175 AD, while Marcus was still engaged on the northern frontier, a new crisis erupted. Avidius Cassius, governor of Syria and a respected general, declared himself emperor after rumors spread that Marcus had died. Though the rebellion was short-lived, Cassius was assassinated by his own officers before Marcus could confront him. It exposed the fragility of imperial authority during prolonged instability. At no point during these years was the empire secure. War on the frontier, plague in the cities, rebellion within the ranks, economic contraction, political uncertainty. It was during these campaigns, particularly between 170 and 180 AD, that Marcus Aurelius composed what we now call Meditations. The work was written in Greek. It was never intended for publication. It was not a treatise. It was not propaganda. It was a personal notebook. In it, Marcus recorded reflections grounded in Stoic philosophy, a school founded centuries earlier by Zeno of Citium, and later developed by thinkers such as Epictetus and Seneca. Stoicism taught that while external events lie beyond our control, judgment and response remain within it. In Book 5, Marcus writes the line often translated as, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In its historical context, the statement was not metaphorical. The impediment was plague, it was invasion, it was betrayal. It was the exhaustion of campaigning year after year along unstable borders. For Marcus, obstacles were not philosophical exercises. They were governing realities. The principle reflected a practical framework. Adversity could not be removed, but it could be integrated into decision-making. The existence of resistance did not suspend action. It shaped it. Military setbacks required adaptation. Disease required administrative restructuring. Rebellion required political recalibration. Obstacles were not deviations from rule. They were the condition of rule. In 180 AD, after nearly 2 decades of sustained crisis management, Marcus Aurelius died in a military encampment near Vindobona in modern-day Vienna. Ancient sources differ on the cause, but it is widely believed he succumbed to the same plague that had defined much of his reign. He did not die in Rome. He did not preside over a triumphant peace. He died on campaign. His son Commodus succeeded him, and the relative stability Marcus struggled to preserve would soon deteriorate. What remains from his reign is not a record of easy governance. It is a record of endurance. Meditations survives as the private reflections of a ruler navigating one of the most difficult decades in Roman imperial history. If he let frustration control him, his judgment would fail. So he trained his mind to see obstacles as material. Material for courage, material for discipline, material for leadership. The empire did not survive because conditions were ideal. It survived because its leader adapted. Today, we face different battles, deadlines, failure, rejection, uncertainty. We wait for the obstacle to disappear before we act. Marcus would say the opposite. The obstacle is the action. The difficulty is the opportunity. The resistance is the forge. What stands in the way becomes the way.